begins with a pregame look at the Cowboys and the National Football League with your host, Channel.
Thanks for joining us again on our weekly talk with Tex Schramm. Well, Tex, again, the feeling was, or at least the feeling I had coming out of New York, was that you escaped with a win, but nonetheless, you did escape, and you're 8-0 at this point. So what more can you say?
Well, when you're playing these kind of games, that's about what you want to do is escape. Obviously, you want to play well, but you're just not going to play well every week, and your tendency is not to play well against a team that you're a 14-point favorite over. And in this case, I think that we didn't play really as poorly as we did maybe against Philadelphia. We played pretty good football, but we made an awful lot of errors. All of the penalties hurt us tremendously, and those penalties are the result of not being real mentally alert, not being sharp. And when that happens, then you can't put together sustained drives. But we're still making the big plays. And, you know, some teams just openly admit they live on big plays. And it's not a crime. The team we're going to play next tomorrow night does that. The Cardinals, they make it on big plays, and that's their mode. So we won, and we're 8-0 and very happy.
Well, you're talking about the big plays. Leads us right into Jay Salty and his special teams unit, which came through again. We have that on tape. Let's take a look.
Well, they've been doing great, the special teams. And on this first one, this is where Benny Barnes hits the receiver. And then D.D. Lewis hits him, and then Jay Salty takes it in and goes in on his back. Salty is the captain of the special teams group, and he's a great leader, and he's usually involved because in another one that you're going to show, he makes the block on a punt, and that plays a leading part in our win up in our first game against the Cardinals.
Those guys are really hitting on that special teams coverage.
Now, this is funny. This is where Jay goes down. You see it in slow motion. You see him actually go like a crab into the end zone with his feet pushing him.
It's perfectly legal, too.
Right. Oh, yes. 1, push, 2, 3, and there he is.
Now, he suddenly gets a burst of energy right there. After he's into the end zone.
That was a very key play, of course, in that game because we weren't doing a heck of a lot, and that got us up on the scoreboard.
Now, to set up this next one, Tex, it comes in Philadelphia, where Jay blocks the punt and ends up leading to one of the touchdowns.
Well, they should watch real quick because Jay comes right up the center, and Blyer, there he is. And this is where Charlie Waters just picks the ball up and runs in. Charlie's a great special team man. He's the one that we'll just see in a minute that gets us the block punt against the Cardinals in our first game with them.
You see these same guys almost every week come up with a big play.
Well, they're the good athletes, and that's why they're on the team. Here comes Charlie, and bang, he gets it. He had that one beat a mile. We didn't get a touchdown out of this one, but we got the ball and eventually got a field goal.
Okay, and that brings us back to more on the game from last week, and you mentioned this earlier, alluded to the penalties, a team record 14. Was there some special reason for that?
Well, as I think I said earlier, when you're playing the way we were playing, when you're not alert, you're going to be going offside, you're going to be lining up offside, you're going to be just creating various little things. You're going to be caught for holding, you're going to be caught for clipping because you're not getting yourself in the position to make the blocks properly. And when you see the man get away from you, then you have a little tendency to reach out and grab or do whatever you're going to do. I think that in looking at the films, we felt that most of the penalties were correct. And so, but you can't keep anything going when you've got 14 penalties going on. I think some pictures that we have here, if you watch Thomas Henderson, now he's just lining up off sides. He just moves up. And he did it twice in a row. Watch closely on this next one. You'll see him very clearly lined up offside, and that's just kind of being a little careless. See, he's lined up offside, and they throw it. There he moves, and they throw the flag, and it's a penalty.
Now, if you watch this tape, actually, we did a little trick editing here, Tex. The referee wasn't calling as many penalties as it appears he was because we put a lot of these together.
Well, this is just about what the afternoon looked like.
That first series, it really did.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you don't have a couple of them putting his hands behind his legs and so forth. That was all afternoon. And those are foolish, those kind of mistakes. But those are mistakes the team makes. And when you can overcome, as I say, we got away with a win, and that was the important thing.
New York had more 1 and 5s, first down and 5s, than they've had all year, I'm sure, in that game, or most any team. That brings us to another point I wanted to talk about. We didn't have time to last week. The officiating has really been under fire this year. Bum Phillips has really been down on them. Joe Green on Friday was fined $1,000 for some remarks he'd said. Many of the coaches have come down hard on him. Do you think that it's justified? Is there any difference this year and other years?
No, I don't think it's justified. I think the officials basically are doing the best job that they can do, and I think they're also totally honest and devoted to the job that they're supposed to do. I think that some officials, obviously, are more qualified. That's human nature. Some people can make quicker decisions and can make decisions under stress better than other people can. Some people might have a little bit better judgment, and I think that our answer lies more in paying more attention, doing more towards the supervising of the officials, the grading of the officials, and the hiring and the firing of the officials. I think that we have to learn which officials don't have the capabilities that we're totally looking for, and continually try to move them out and move fresh men in so that we have a flow coming. I think right now we might have a case of where 80% of the officials are doing an excellent job, but they're getting a bad rap for 20% of officials that just aren't capable of doing better. Not that they're not trying, they're just not capable.
A couple of other points I want to explore on that in just a moment, but right now we got to pause for this break, and we'll be right back.
And in the meantime, what, the fans, everybody going to be sitting there like waiting for a horse race for the photo to come down or something? I just think that it would destroy the pace of our game, and it wouldn't accomplish, in the long run, it wouldn't accomplish what we're trying to do.
The other point was about full-time officials. Do you think that would be a good prospect?
I think the problem with full-time officials, and when you talk about full-time officials, you have to talk in the nature of 80 to 100 officials, because it takes that many to officiate our games. And I think that you would have a hard time getting the caliber of person who wants to make officiating football games a total career, because they would only really be participating in the actual officiating, say, 20 times a year outside of playoff games. One of the best officials that we ever had, I believe, was a referee by the name of Tommy Bell, and the fans usually remember him. Well, he was a successful attorney, and if we'd have required full-time officials, we never could have had a Tommy Bell, and we have the same thing now. We have a lot of people that are in very interesting and lucrative careers in other fields, but they're intelligent and they're top quality. And I don't think we'd be able to get those kind of people if we required that it be a full-time profession.
Okay, before we move on to the Cardinals, let's go back to a little bit more of last week's game and take a look at some of your defensive efforts against the pass, which were extremely good again.
Well, that's good. Benny Barnes almost gets a interception there. That quarterback is pretty happy right now.
Now, in this game, they gave up only 1/10 of a yard per pass attempt. And that's some
what was it? Two yards out of the whole game?
I think it's 2 yards net after you took away the 8 sacks.
This is Mark Washington and Cliff Harris. And, of course, obviously we did a good job in that ball game. Our pass defense has really been tremendous because we're leading the league, the whole NFL, in pass defense, and giving up something like 30% completions. That's Cliff Harris making the key interception.
Now, guys like Cliff are getting so much more chance now for the interceptions to make the big play because your line has so much more pressure than they've had before.
Well, you know, that's one of the big things about pass defense. If you don't give the quarterback time to throw, if he's under pressure, then you're going to get a lot more. And that's what's happening this year.
You might mention that you had 8 interceptions in that game. It's getting to be so routine I didn't even put it in the tape this week.
Well, they're doing a real fine job, and that's going to be the key for the drive the rest of the season, particularly tomorrow night, because when you play the Cardinals, you better be ready to play pass defense.
You mentioned tomorrow night. Tom Landry was saying earlier in the week he thinks the Cardinal series may be getting to be more crucial with his players even than the Washington series. Now, we've got some videotape of the Cardinals game against Minnesota last week.
Well, watch Terry Metcalf jump here. Now, watch. That is illegal. Totally illegal, because the man that he was jumping over was on his 2 feet, and that's called hurling. I just threw that in.
This is Wayne Morris from SMU, and man, has he added something to their rushing attack.
That kills me. Right here in our backyard, and we missed him.
Well, you got to miss some occasionally.
Every now and then we're going to miss some, but because he's a good football player.
No need to explain who this is.
No.
Might mention that last week,
Here's that little Mel Gray, the guy. Boy, I tell you, he gives you fits.
They rushed for 316 yards last week.
Well, this is what's making their passing so dangerous now, is because they're throwing. And now they're playing defense.
Yeah, that's amazing. They've never played defense.
No, they're not supposed to play defense. But once you get that momentum going, that's what Tom said when they were down those 3 games. A team that's explosive like that, once that momentum starts coming, boy, they're hard to stop. Everybody starts playing good.
And they were talking about their secondary, how bad it was, and you just saw them pick off a pass there and held down.
Well, they're one of the 2 or 3 best teams now in the whole national conference. And I would say this is probably going to be our most severest test Monday night. Has to be.
If you get past this game, you have pretty well put down all your opposition, I think, in the division, because Washington now has so many losses it'd be hard for them to catch you, and St. Louis would almost be demoralized after losing this one to break the momentum.
Well, I think more important than that would be the fact that if we win this game tomorrow night against the Cardinals, I think it'll give us a tremendous amount of momentum going into our game the following week with Pittsburgh and the following week with Washington, because whenever you lose, it doesn't help you any. And if you lose and the Cardinals then are only 2 behind, all of a sudden you start that old thing, don't look, somebody might be catching you. You know what I mean? So I think that the important thing is the momentum that it would give us, and I think it would give us the proper momentum to get us in one of those real drives to move on the rest of the season for the playoffs.
Very quickly, let's look at what some of your players had to say about playing a Monday Night Football. We talked to them earlier this week.
I like to watch the games on Sunday.
Well, to be honest with you, I'd rather not play on Monday night.
I enjoy watching the Monday Night Football game more so than playing it myself.
Mom's going to be watching, or your dad or your family. Everybody's going to be watching, It's the only game the whole Monday night.
I just like the Monday night games. It's a long wait to me.
Well, that sums up their feeling. Generally, they don't like it, but I'm sure they'll do a good job anyway. Well, best of luck tomorrow night, Tex, and we hope you win this big one.
Well, we'll hope we're real happy here next week.
Okay, we'll be back to talk about it next week here on Channel 4.
Go, Dallas Cowboys!
This has been the Tex Schramm Show. The president and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys with a pregame look at the Cowboys and the National Football League. Your host has been Channel 4 Sports Director Lee Martin.